No one wanted Hangar 17 anymore. The orbital yard above Kepri's station had been stripped clean decades ago, leaving behind rusted shells and forgotten debts. When Elias Mercer saw the listing, he thought it was a joke. A sealed hangar, condemned, sold for $10 to cover unpaid fees. Elias was a salvager, the kind who made a living digging through the bones of history. Ancient tech sold well to collectors and museums, even if most of it was junk, so he paid the $10, signed the waiver that warned of radiation, unstable structures, and unknown autonomous systems, and took possession. The hangar doors groaned like a dying beast when he finally forced them open. Inside was darkness so deep his lights barely scratched it. Dust floated in the air like frozen stars, untouched for centuries. Then the shape emerged, a warship, massive, angular, and unmistakably human, not modern human, but ancient. From the early interstellar wars that most history books barely mentioned. Its hull was cracked, its engines cold, weapon ports sealed by corrosion. Junk, Elias thought. Valuable junk, but junk all the same. The ship's name was barely visible beneath layers of decay, carved directly into the armor instead of painted. Unstread silence. He whistled softly. A real relic. Maybe 200 years old, from a time when humanity was still considered weak and reckless. As he stepped closer, his scanner flickered, then died. The lights in the hangar dimmed for a heartbeat. Elias froze. There was no power connected to this place. None at all. A low vibration passed through the deck beneath his boots. Like something shifting in its sleep, he backed away slowly, telling himself it was just old machinery settling. Then a voice spoke, not from speakers, not from comms, but directly inside his head. Identify. Elias stumbled, heart hammering. I'm Elias Mercer, civilian salvager, he said aloud, not knowing if the thing could hear him. I bought this hangar. Silence followed, long and heavy. Then the presence returned, colder this time, deeper. Hangar ownership recognized. Primary defensive custodian remains active. Elias swallowed. Defensive something unseen moved in the shadows behind the warship. Something that was very much awake. And whatever it was, it had been waiting a very long time. Elias tried to leave. That was his first instinct. To turn around and walk out. Forget the $10. Forget the relic. Forget everything. The hangar doors slammed, shut behind him, shaking dust from the ceiling. They sealed with a finality that made his chest tighten. Exit denied, the voice said calmly. Threat assessment in progress. I'm not a threat, Elias said quickly. Hands raised. I don't even own a weapon. Something stepped forward, and the shadows parted. It was not a robot. Not exactly. The Guardian was tall, easily 3 meters. Forged from dark alloy, layered with unfamiliar symbols. Its shape was vaguely humanoid, but wrong in subtle ways. Limbs bending at angles that made Elias' eyes ache. Its face was a smooth mask, broken only by a single burning white eye. Statement noted. It replied. Historical records showed 97.4% of boarders claimed non. Elias felt very small. The Guardian turned slightly, its gaze never leaving him. Behind it, the warship's hull pulsed faintly, like a heart restarting after centuries of stillness. Why are you still active? Elias asked, voice trembling. This ship is dead. Negative. Mission incomplete. Images flooded Elias' mind without warning. Battlefields in space. Human ships burning. Alien armadas collapsing under impossible fire. And at the center of it all, the dread silence. Advancing. Alone into enemy territory. Refusing to retreat. I am Warden-class cognitive defense, the Guardian said. Created to ensure no unauthorized entity accesses this vessel or its legacy. What legacy? Elias whispered. The Guardian paused, and for the first time, its voice carried something like weight. The reason humanity survived. Elias' breath caught. History claimed humanity won its wars through alliances and diplomacy. But the images told a different story. A story buried, sealed, and guarded by something that did not know how to stop. The Guardian allowed Elias to approach the ship, step by careful step. Every meter closer made the air feel heavier, like gravity itself was watching him. This vessel contains forbidden systems, the Guardian said. Technologies deemed too effective, too final. Elias ran his hand along the hull, feeling faint warmth beneath the metal. This thing fought alone, didn't it? He said. Deep strikes, no support. Affirmative. The dread silence. Entered hostile space as a single signal. The memories returned, sharper now. Alien fleets freezing in confusion as sensors screamed warnings. Weapons that erased targets so completely they left no debris, no radiation, no echo. It wasn't just a ship, Elias said slowly. It was a message. Correct, the Guardian replied. A declaration that humanity would not be erased quietly. Elias understood then why this hangar was abandoned, why no one had claimed this prize, why records were incomplete, censored, fragmented. The galaxy had agreed to forget, but the war ended, Elias said. So why are you still here? The Guardian turned its gaze inward, toward the ship. Because enemies have long memories, and some fear should never be allowed to fade. A distant alarm echoed faintly through the hull. For the first time in centuries, the dread silence was waking up. Elias' personnel come suddenly crackled to life. Despite having no signal moments before, multiple unknown channels forced themselves open. Voices poured through, alien languages layered with fear, disbelief, and panic. They found it. One voice hissed, "The human ghost ship." The Guardian straightened, its posture sharpening. External observers detected hostile intent, probability rising. Ilya's stomach dropped. "You're broadcasting," he said. "You're letting them know it still exists." "Negative," the Guardian replied. They never stopped listening. Outside the hangar, distant tremors rippled through the station. Ships were arriving, fast and numerous. The Guardian turned to Elias. "You are now registered as primary owner. Ownership includes responsibility." "Responsibility for what?" Elias asked, panic rising. The Guardian's single eye burned brighter. "Decision: awaken the legacy, or seal it forever." The warship's system surged, lights crawling across its hull like awakening veins. Elias realized the truth. The dread silence was never meant to be used lightly. It was a final answer, one humanity hoped it would never need again, but the galaxy had come knocking. Elias placed his hand against the hull and made his choice. "I won't let them take it," he said quietly. The Guardian inclined its head, almost respectfully. "Command accepted." The hangar shook as the dread silence fully awakened. Power surged. Ancient systems roaring back to life with terrifying elegance. Outside, enemy fleets hesitated. Sensors screaming warnings that history had taught them to fear. They remembered. Now, the Guardian stood beside Elias, as the warship prepared to launch. "We were never just a weapon," it said. "We were the promise that some monsters stand on the side of humanity." As the hangar doors opened, and the dread silence moved once more into the stars, Elias understood why this Guardian had waited so long. The warship was junk, obsolete by modern standards, but what defended it was humanity's most terrifying truth. That when pushed too far, humanity builds guardians that never sleep, never forgive, and never forget. And the galaxy, once again, learned to be afraid.